Coming up next on Rockin' Real Estate Tips from the Rocket.
Hello, everybody. This is sensational Stacy Corrigan, the Rocket from Woonsocket, super proud badass broker and founder of Peace of Mind Property Management and Real Estate Inc. And we sell real estate right here in Blackstone Valley, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. And I'm here to talk to you today about closing cost credits, sometimes also called closing cost concessions. And we're going to tell you about what the risks are depending on the market we're in, what qualifies as a closing cost credit, and who pays it really. Coming up next on Rockin' Real Estate Tips from the Rocket.
One thing is for certain. Your home is likely the largest financial asset you'll own. And the big question is this: who can you turn to expertly guide you with the right strategies, next best steps, and the exact how-to? How to get started with the home buying process, how to get the best rate and terms for a loan, how to negotiate the best offer for the purchase of your largest financial asset and propel your equity so you can stay on course for you and your family's dreams. That is the question, and this video series will give you the answers. My name is Stacy Corrigan, and welcome to Rockin' Real Estate Tips with the Rocket.
Closing cost credits. What qualifies as a closing cost credit? So you can see here on the right-hand side is the buyer. Okay, this is a reference transaction with no names on here. And we have taxes, oil, and propane adjustments. And so that might need to be listed separately. And so there's typically attorney's fees, titles fees, real estate taxes, insurance, points, interest adjustments, I said title fees. All right, so if you're gonna include utility adjustments, the lender may require those to be spelled out on the P&S, but we start here with real estate taxes and adjustments. So in this case, the adjustments were a charge to the buyer, but the real estate taxes were a credit to the buyer. So they got credit for taxes that the seller had paid in advance. Okay. So here we have loan charges, the processing, underwriting, appraisal, credit report, flood cert, tax service fee, prepaid interest. Then impounds are your homeowner's insurance and property taxes that your lender is going to escrow for you. So when we write a closing cost concession language in the P&S, we say subject to closing costs, prepaids, and escrows. So prepaid would be the real estate tax up there, and escrows would be the real estate tax and insurance down here. Closing costs, all these other fees, the loan charges are part of closing costs. And then government and recording and transfer charges, those are also part of closing costs for the buyer. And then we have all the title costs for the buyer, as well as their first year of homeowner's insurance and their next quarter of taxes. So you see how if you're able to negotiate a closing cost concession with the seller, that these items getting paid for can be very helpful to a buyer who might be using most of their funds towards their down payment. Okay, so who pays for the closing costs really? So people think the seller is paying the closing costs because they say, oh, I want the seller to pay the closing costs. They feel like they won in negotiations, but honestly, the buyer is basically rolling those closing costs into their loan. So if you have a $400,000 sale and you roll, usually the limit for closing cost concession by the lender is 2 to 3%. So if you roll $12,000 into your loan, $12,000 worth of closing costs, you're going to be financing $412,000. Then the closing cost concession means only $400,000 is going to the seller. Okay, so really the buyer is paying for those closing costs. They're just financing them. Okay, hope that's clear. So the seller is really not paying for them. If you're the seller, don't get all worked up over it. Here's the one thing that matters about that is the property then needs to appraise for 412. Okay, so if the property doesn't appraise, then a couple of things have to happen. Either the closing costs credit can get negotiated down, to the amount that the property appraised for. Let's say appraised for 409. Now the buyer can only maybe get $9,000 worth of closing costs covered, or the closing cost credit needs to go away and the buyer will need to come up with that. For example, if the property only appraised for 400,000. Got it? Good. What are the risks? So I kind of just mentioned it. The risk is the property may not appraise. So if you are a buyer and your pre-qual letter commits you to needing the closing costs to be covered by the seller, in essence being rolled into a loan, then you may not be able to buy the property if it doesn't appraise. So that could be a big deal. Good news is most lenders do allow for gift funds. So if you could have a plan B, if the property weren't to appraise, to have mom or dad, aunt or uncle, or a good friend, anybody where it makes sense. So for my first house, I got assistance from my old boss. So if it makes sense where he could call it a bonus and write a letter, even though I did pay him back, the lender just wants the funds that are being given to make sense. Okay. So if it's a buyer's market, then it's a very strong possibility closing cost concessions are going to happen. No problem. Okay. But if it's a seller's market, like what we're in right now, then it's less likely that sellers are going to agree to that because they know the property needs to appraise for the amount of the purchase price plus those closing costs rolled into the loan. Sometimes it works. Sometimes there's a blend that happens, like I mentioned, and sometimes it doesn't work. So those are the risks involved. And if you're not sure, call your amazing real estate agent, us at Peace of Mind, and we will answer all your questions, all right, about closing cost concessions. You have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, it's Stacy, and I have a cool gift for you. I've taken some of my best tips and created an ultimate buyer's guide for you. It's pretty thorough, and it takes you from considering buying a house to closing on your new home. And I want to give it to you for free, just as a thank you for listening to the show. No fluff, no gimmicks, just pure actionable ideas for you to use instantly. You can grab it right now at pompmre.com/buying, BUYING. Should be right there on the screen to help you out. And do you know anyone who could benefit from this episode? If so, please share it with them. No pressure. We just want to help as many people as we can. Also, if you found something interesting in this episode, send me a quick message and let me know what was good, what was helpful, or hey, I'm going to do that. Just shoot me a quick message and let me know what resonated with you. That way I can continue helping you propel your equity to new heights for the benefit of you and your family. We appreciate you, and I hope you make it a great day.